right. A couple minutes past 11, so I think now is the time. So thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nicole, and I am the product marketing manager here at Rewind. And today I'm joined by our featured panelist of industry pros to have a discussion about protecting client data and how our panelists are using Rewind to drive that discussion with their clients. And if anything has been true, 2021 is going to be filled with many unknowns for us. But one thing is for sure, we will continue to use cloud software to help us deliver exceptional customer experiences. And we have to consider cloud security as a part of that offering and implementing different measures to ensure the quality of our clients' data. So I'm pleased to introduce our featured panelists who will give us a few tips and tricks on how they're providing a proactive security approach to their practice. So Jean, if you wouldn't mind coming off mute, please give us a quick introduction.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Jean Zick. I am co-founder of Juno Financial Solutions. We're a Boston-based accounting and finance solution. We work entirely remotely, and we provide our clients with the skills of a big company's accounting and finance department, everything from day-to-day accounting through CFO level activities. And we use Rewind in all of our client files to protect the data. We think it's important that we know, and it's a comfort for our clients to know that their data is safe. So Rewind is a standard on all of our client files.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jean. And I'd love to introduce Gaby next.
Hi, my name is Gaby Sankovich, and I am the founder and president of Sankovich Solutions. We are located in the Bay Area in California, and we're a virtual bookkeeping services company specializing in virtual cloud collaboration. We handle diagnostic reviews, cleanups and repairs, as well as any migrations to the cloud. We use Rewind as a standalone backup service for all of our QuickBooks Online clients. Not just to ensure the safety and security of the data, but also for us to be able to collaborate and try new things on the file without damaging the original file. So it's a very, very crafty tool, and we love it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Gaby. And I'd love to pass it over to Ellen, please.
Hi, good morning. I'm Ellen Allen. I'm the owner of My Team Accounting. I live and work in the Cincinnati, Dayton, Ohio area. Work mostly remotely, and I serve small and medium businesses, quite a few professional services, but a variety of businesses as an advanced certified QuickBooks Pro advisor, big QBO fan, and I like Rewind for the readily accessible backup. It gives users and find that it is a value add that I can bring to my initial client relationships. Most businesses out there aren't aware why they might need a backup. So that's how I like to use Rewind.
Great. Thank you so much, Ellen. And last but not least, Kelly Parks, please. Oh, Kelly, I think you might be on mute.
Hi.
There
so
we go.
I'm Kellie Parks of Comwaters Cloud Accounting. I had myself muted because I can be misbehaved. That's right. I have Comwaters Cloud Accounting, and I am a member of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network. I'm a certified professional bookkeeper, and I love cloud technology in general, but especially the accounting cloud technology and what it can do for my clients. And also I have a lifestyle business, so what it's done for me. But of course, there was no opportunity to back up our QuickBooks files previously, and I am loving, and I'm gonna, Gaby, best word for an app ever, crafty app. So this is a crafty app. I love that. This is what I like about panels. You get everybody's kind of different way of wording things and thinking about things. And so I love that I can back up my client files. And like Ellen, I mean, we're all using it for the right reasons, for security, for backing up the files, for rolling things back on a transactional level, and yada, 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 that we're all going to hear about. But Ellen said it really well, too. It's a value add. It sets you apart. You are at a more professional level, and you are saving clients from problems they did not even know they had. So for me, it goes along as a whole peace of mind statement. They don't realize that their data is backed up as a whole, not as an individual file. They don't maybe necessarily realize the value of rolling back to a point in time or rolling back on a transactional level. They've all may not have thought of two-factor verification. They may not have thought of, is this person insured? There's so many things that they haven't thought about, but if you can bring those to the forefront, you bring way more value as an accounting professional, and you leave a lot of the pack back there somewhere. So I love the way that Ellen worded that it's not just about backing up your apps, it's about backing up your reputation.
Amazing. Thank you so much for those introductions. I'd love to just take a quick moment to go over what we're going to discuss today. So we're going to dive right in to talk a little bit about data, and particularly around how your clients perceive data. We'll talk about some common situations that accounting professionals might come up against where data corruption or data mishaps might happen. And I think an interesting point here is that now is the time to bring this conversation forward to have with your clients around data protection for 2021. And we will pass it back to Kellie, who will give us some tips and tricks on how to actually use Rewind if you haven't had an opportunity to rewind something yet. And I'll pass it to the audience for some Q&A. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please pop them into the Q&A section and we will review them together at the end. So let's press, sorry, Kellie, go ahead.
Is this when I'm going to do the demo of my Rewind file?
It's going to be just right at the end in the tips and tricks section. So we'll have a quick discussion right now, just talking about data. So we kind of touched on this a little bit. There might be some misconceptions around the safety of a client's data when they're using different cloud software. So for example, with QBO, we know that there is data protection in place in terms of Intuit's server protecting their data, but that doesn't necessarily protect the client's data. If something were to happen, they have no way to go back and restore a transaction unless they're using some kind of redundancy tool. So I would love to get some of your feedback about your experiences talking about data protection with your clients. What do they think about data? Do they think it's safe in the cloud?
I find two extremes to what the clients think about data in the cloud. Some of them fear the cloud because it's going to rain and a storm will take it away and they'll lose their data. And then on the other hand, you have the clients who think that the cloud is completely safe and why would you need to back up something that's in the cloud? So I'm finding that I have to define the cloud to clients and bring the expectations to a real level. And from that point of view, then I can explain the features of Rewind and why we need it.
One of our clients actually brought started the conversation with me. He's an IT provider, and he said to me one day when we were converting him from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online, and he said, "So my data's in the cloud, is it backed up?" And I was like, "I know QuickBooks does backup." And then I got me into researching and looking for a solution that would be backing up the data, not just for him, but for all of our clients. And I agree. I think it's an important part of the conversation with the clients, as important as whether you have two-factor on your account or you're using a password manager.
I thought Gaby made a good observation that the businesses I see either trust the cloud completely and believe they have a backup and don't understand that they don't have an accessible backup and why that's important. Or you have people that are pretty firmly rooted in some legacy way of doing things, and it can be a challenge to convince them that operating in the cloud can be safe.
So talking more into this situation, so we've educated our clients a little bit about why they need a backup, but let's talk a little bit about the common situations or maybe situations you've heard about if you haven't come up against them yourself around data errors, how data corruption happens or data mishap happens, and how you go about ensuring the safety of your clients' files against some of these common situations like manual entry or manual errors like deleting transactions, testing apps, importing different files, or malicious attacks perhaps from ex-employees. How do you guys go about ensuring the quality of these clients' files?
Using Rewind. If any of these things happen, there really is a great peace of mind to know that you can go back to a point in time where either there was no data corruption or the error that happened you can go back before that happened. It's I think a lot of times it's really easy for users that aren't as involved perhaps in the nitty-gritty of QuickBooks Online, for example, as we all might be, to not understand that things have to be done in a certain order. There's a process to everything. And if you're in a file where you're collaborating with a client and things aren't done in the right order, it can take a lot of time sometimes to go back and unwind everything because there's different pieces that touch and work together. And how much more efficient is that if you can just roll everything back to a point before the problem occurred?
Yeah, for sure. And so most of my clients are all of my clients are highly engaged in their actual QuickBooks files.
Mm-hmm.
And although I have laid out workflows for them, we have processes in place. They know what they're to do and not to do. Like my clients do not touch the bank feeds. They're great at it. They go in on Mondays or Tuesdays and they refresh the bank feeds. And I have yet to have an issue with anybody doing that, except for this. I had a client that was super engaged in her books. And she also loved tech. Like once I got them, they were in Excel when I came into their bookkeeping world. They were in Excel. And then once I got them into QuickBooks Online, that was it. They were like engaged in the cloud like it was nobody's business. She loved all of the applications and what they could do for her. So she decided her POS, and she had, I think, 12 POS machines. This was a car wash with numerous locations. They had a whole pile of POS machines, and at one of the car washes, the POS guys convinced them that she could add that in and bring all of that in the bank feeds, and that it was going to be magic. And she's like, "Cool, I'll go ahead and do that," and she did. But and she auto added the rules, and so the problem, and it was great. I love her enthusiasm. The problem was we already had a system in place for how we were recording the sales in the file. So now, of course, we had duplicates, but worse, we had duplicates that didn't necessarily match. We couldn't, because they were taking bank fees off at source, for example. And so I literally rolled back the file on the sales receipts. And then because here's what else happened. So then I said, okay, well, that's not going to work. We can't do that. So then she disconnected the feed, but we'd already auto added them. So there was no way to unauto add. It was a complete cluster, for lack of a better word. So what we had to roll back, and we had a crap ton of the sales receipts. We had to roll back, get the sales receipts out of there, and then do a whole lot of management in the file. And so, because we were recording daily sales from, a number of locations on these things in a number of class tracking ways. So you can imagine, but just to get rid of them and start over was a much better option for us. Yeah. Can I answer? Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to ask, so you used Rewind to help you in that particular situation? Like
Yeah.
what would happen if you didn't have something like Rewind to help you through that?
I would have been manually deleting all of those sales receipts. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but it would have been a very big deal because, a number of car wash locations with a number, and there was a reason why we weren't using one sales receipt for class tracking. So, we're talking a dozen sales receipts over the course of a month. This was a monthly engagement, only in there on, the 5th of the month kind of thing. So it was all said and done. And so that would have been hours of work.
I had a similar situation with a client before we had a backup app to help us out, where they integrated with a third party without my knowledge. And it was a complete disaster. And I gave the client the quote of how many hours of our time it would take to repair what she had done over the weekend. And we lost the client over something they had done. So when I heard about backup systems for QuickBooks. I mean, I lit up right away. I got to find out more. I got to know what this does for us. And now it is up to the client if they want to purchase Rewind or not, although we recommend it highly. When the client turns down Rewind, we make sure that they turn it down in writing so that we have something in writing from the client of why we're not using a backup system. But if the client wants our help integrating to a third-party app, Rewind is part of the system. They have to sign up to Rewind before we attempt the integration, because making a copy of that data file before integrating is a great way to test whether things are going to go right or not.
Yeah, for sure.
Great,
My
great.
policy on it is if the client is heavily involved in the file, they can pay for Rewind. If I am the one that is the majority user of that file. Now, most of my clients are heavily involved in their files. But if it's me, then it's under my billing, or I pay for it. So I've decided what that billing is going to look like facing out towards the client as well. I love, Gaby, that you're doing an opt-out option. It's smart, right? It's really smart, for sure. Can I just answer one question for Cindy here?
Oh, please. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Cindy, no. So Cindy's question is, can we rewind pre-converting to multi-currency? I know this from my own experience. And so my SOPs that are client-facing and my SOPs that are internal definitely say, do not turn on multi-currency, because if you didn't want it on, yeah, so no, you can't rewind pre-multi-currency.
Can I add to that?
Sorry, that's an API thing. That's not a Rewind thing. That's an API thing on QBO. Sorry, Gaby, go ahead.
One thing that can be done, though, is before converting to multi-currency is to make a copy of your data file and then see how multi-currency works for you or not. But once you have it and you're using it on your day-to-day, then yes, you're stuck.
Mm.
Yeah, so in a case like that, that's a case for QBO copy. So what you would do is, if you think you want to add multi-currency module to the file, you would make a QBO copy and put it into a shell file so that you've got that file before you turn on multi-currency. Because as soon as multi-currency is turned on, you can't do it. Cindy's asking what an SOP is: standard operating processes or standard operating procedures.
So this kind of segues nicely into our next slide here. Gaby, I love that you highlighted some of the strategies that you put in place to ensure this quality across the files for clients. So this is a perfect opportunity to talk about some of the best practices that you push forward as a security best practice and how you have this discussion with your client. So you're protecting some of the client's most sensitive data, sensitive assets. It's their data, and they have to have security when we're talking about data in the cloud. And this is a great opportunity to segue into how you introduce Rewind. So I would love to hear your pitch or how you bring Rewind up in the conversation with your client.
I'll go for a second because I also want to answer Cindy's question. It's not a question, it's a great statement. So Cindy's become part of the panel now.
Welcome, Cindy.
Cindy said a client went rogue. A copy would have been bliss. Absolutely. I mean, that sums it all up right there, right? I'm going to do a quick screen share on the topic of how I introduce Rewind to my clients, or how they even know. Oh, I can't actually screen share. The new rules of Zoom, right? I think I have to. So if you can let me screen share.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me change that real quick.
And this is going to answer your question, Afsana, is, and hi, Afsana, is how do I bring it to my client's attention, which is essentially what you just said, right, Nicole? And so the way that I do this is I have a facing right on my website. It is my peace of mind policies and best practices. And it lays out what the problems could be and what the solutions are. And Rewind is installed on all QBO client files. And so this is right on my website. And then I created a policy document. It's only a couple of pages long, but it lays it out so that if they're not on my website, I can just send them to know what my peace of mind policies are. Because this is an all-in-one process. This just isn't, Rewind isn't an island. It's a big piece in all of our security processes. And I think you need to make that forward facing right from the start. But then the next step that I do, so I've told a client, they know before when they're a prospect, that these are my policies. Then when they come on, we have an in-depth discussion about why and what that looks like. And then we actually, part of my onboarding process, and I had fun with this with 2 clients that I just brought on, is one of our training sessions is on security for them as well. So I go on and I show them why their QBO files need 2-factor authorization, why we're putting this on their receipt bank, why it's on their Rewind, although they're not in Rewind, why it's on all of these accounts. And then depending on what they're on, I help them implement that in their processes. So if they're on G Suite and they don't have 2FA, we do that right then and there. And if they don't have a password manager, we talk about how that can look for them and where that security is going to lie. So I make Rewind a part of the bigger piece. And then I actually go in and help them create security processes within their own businesses. Sorry for taking over. Welcome, Kelly.
That's great. Do any other panelists have any experience with this? Like, how do you overcome objections if you introduce Rewind and they're like, oh, I don't want to pay for that? How do you handle that objection with your client?
Well, by making them turn down the app in writing, it's a way of making them acknowledge that now they are responsible if something happens to the file. And that in itself motivates a lot of clients to move forward with us with Rewind. Now, I think that the clients that are already established with us for a long time before we had tools like Rewind are a little bit harder to navigate into the world of Rewind. And you have to bring the message over and over again in different situations to them. Different scenarios come up, so you bring it up, you bring it to the forefront until you make it so that it's necessary for them to say yes. With newer clients, the conversation is a little easier because as you're interviewing the client and you're listening to their pain points, you go like, okay, we need to implement this, this, and this for you. So it already becomes part of your engagement letter that we're going to get you Rewind for these reasons, and we're going to get you a great deal on your new QBO if that's the case. And so I think that it's a lot easier to implement it on new business than it is to implement it in old business.
I think so too. Clients come to us as accountants and bookkeepers because they know they need help with their books. But what they don't know is that they don't have the readily accessible backup and all the reasons for it. So if when you're first interacting with a client, you can educate them about Rewind and why you need an accessible backup. You add value immediately to the relationship. They're there because they know they need help. It's a really easy conversation to have that right from the outset puts you in a position of strength in the relationship to be that expert advisor that we all work hard to be. And it helps you really direct the whole engagement from there on. And that's, I think, what we all want to be advisors to our clients and be able to support them in their business. And I have found anyway, they understand the peace of mind concept. Rewind is it's a nice price point for an insurance policy.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree. Ellen makes excellent comments there, and I agree it's an easy conversation to have even on our renewals. When we're talking to the clients and we're like, hey, we're really concerned to make sure your data is safe. You know, part of our mission is to make sure your QuickBooks are telling the story of your business. Let's make sure that it's going to be safely telling that story and your data is secure. And we found this awesome software that's called Rewind, and we can attach it to the files, and we're actually doing it as a value add. And this is part of our plan and our the engagement we have with you, that we want to make sure your data is safe. And it becomes a conversation. And I agree with Kelly. She makes great points on all the other pieces as well. I often tell my clients, my husband and my two boys are all involved in data security. So if I start going on a data security rant with them, I say, hey, forgive me, I live this every day. So I want to make sure it's important for my clients too, that they have, two-factor, that they have a password manager, and that they're thinking about the data that they're putting in the cloud. One of the things I think about with clients is it's become so easy to put all of our data in the cloud. Our file cabinets are on the cloud. We're putting organizational data in the cloud. We need to protect it, and Rewind is just one piece of this protection that we need to have of all of our data.
Yep, I actually, you guys are so smart. I have, when I am going through the security, the whole policy of what it's going to look like for them and how they can start securing their businesses. The other conversation that we have, and you hit on this, Jean, is location redundancy. It's all in the cloud. So Rewind is not just for backup, it is third location redundancy of data, which, sometimes I have 4 location redundancy of data, but I believe in a minimum of 3 location redundancy of data. And so Rewind isn't my only backup app. It's the only app, obviously, that's on QBO, but I have my G Suite backed up. So I'm not just talking the talk about Rewind. I really, truly believe in backing up my data and having location redundancy. So, my G Suite is backed up to Dropbox using an app. But then the other thing that I do with my clients, when we are walking through the engagement process, in the engagement letter, it tells them and they sign off on what applications are connected to their bank feeds, what applications host their data in the cloud that they may be seeing or that is facing them in an accounting manner. And I tell them what cloud accounting applications I use to run my business. So they know that I use G Suite and Cloud HQ, and Rewind comes into the internal part for me, and that I am using 17 hats. And I am completely cloud-based, and they get that list. They don't need to know about Acuity because that doesn't really host any of their data. But anything that has guiding information of theirs in any way. So 17 hats doesn't have any financial information, but it certainly has a lot. It's my CRM. So it's a larger piece than just Rewind, but Rewind is that piece in the middle for QuickBooks, but also for location redundancy. So I walk my clients, they get a little flow chart on what location redundancy is for and why it matters. Because flow charts are fun.
So I guess I'll just add or ask a question, Kelly. What app do you use for your flowcharts?
Excel. Actually, it's Google Sheets. It's
Not
Google
bad, not
Sheets.
bad.
Yeah, I mean, I was using a flowchart one. What happened was I got too mucked down in building the flowcharts and not enough in what the flowcharts meant.
Oh yeah.
So I went back to Google Sheets because you can drop in, and I use Canva, right? So some of the actual flowcharts, I build them in Canva. I'm not using a flowchart application because it was way too much fun for me and it was just a time suck, right? I just needed to be perfect and pretty.
Totally. I can attest to that completely. I am in that space right now where I really enjoy making flowcharts too much.
Too much, right? So stop it. But
I know.
Canva works for that. And then I drop some of those images into my Google Sheet. But can I answer a couple of questions here?
Please do.
Okay. So Alyssa, hi Alyssa. It was about a year ago that you and I were misbehaved at QBO Connect San Jose. I wish I could see you again. What am I using to back up GC to Dropbox? I'm using a thing called Cloud HQ. There's Spin Backup. There is Backblaze. I chose Cloud HQ because I had a lot more control, I felt, of it. It wasn't being backed up to their server. I backed it up to another place that I controlled the location of. So I'm using Cloud HQ. It also has a lot of other fun features for G Suite in it that aren't native to G Suite. And yes, Cindy, backups are stored here in Canada. You can choose where your backup is. I will tell you the data for QBO is not stored in Canada. It's on AWS on a number of farms in the States. But Rewind, you can pick whether it's here or in the States. Can we pick Europe too, Nicole? I don't think so, right? Can we?
I'm sorry?
Can we pick Europe? With the
Pick Europe?
GDPR?
Oh, yes.
Yep. Okay, so there you go. If you want to, like, GDPR is awesome. You could back it up in Europe if you wanted as well.
Yes.
Cindy, I chose to back my files up here in Canada.
I see that there's a question from Kim around QBO copy. I'll save that to the end, and we might need a little bit of support intervention to answer your question appropriately, but we do have that Q&A section, so we'll get back to that one at the end. But Kelly, I'd love to pass it back to you if you wanted to maybe pop into Rewind to give us a quick show around what the vault looks like, how to, you don't have to if you don't want to, but demonstrate what a backup could look like, or at least how you would go about backing up an individual item.
Yep, sure. And I may actually be able to help out with that QBO copy question as well, because certainly I mucked about in it. So I need to share again, don't I? So Rewind. A little lost on what I do for a demo with Rewind, because the long and short of it, oh, I logged out. The long and short of it, this is my demo account. So although I just lectured on 2FA, this is my demo account. So it is not actually attached to an account with data in it, or with real data. This is fake data, fake news data. And part of my struggles with demoing Rewind is it's really intuitive to use. One of the things that if you want to, so if you, one of the first things, because it's really easy to show, if you are going to make a change in the file, so let's say you're going to do a year-end journal entry, and there's a lot of deferred revenue, and so you got a whole crap ton of lines. It's not that perfect 10 item journal entry that I strive for and pretty much never achieve. My clients all have deferred revenue. I'm going to blame that. So if I am going to put in a journal entry, then I would hit backup now. I would actually jump right in, although it is continuously backing up the file. I know I'm alone in this, but I'm a little bit controlling of my QBO file. I know most accounting professionals, they're just willy-nilly, no big deal, but I want to be the one to hit the backup button. And then you'll get a notification that your backup has been complete. So there is that. There is, you can uninstall Rewind. Now, this is a really ugly file. Just so you guys know, I get the file in good shape and then I bust it all out again. And Rewind is welcoming me. You can go to Advanced Restore. Advanced Restore is selecting a date and selecting a time. So that mimics the QB desktop application. That is exactly the same one as you are used to, where you just roll it, or you save a file at a point in time or roll back a file to a point in time. But this is way more fun because you can update only the files, that the content types that you want to. So this is one that I used fairly recently. I only needed to see deleted content. And I can't remember what else I wanted, but let's not, we didn't need to see that. We didn't need to see the any of this sort of stuff budget. So what I do is I take out the stuff that I don't want to see. And then you can apply a date range if you want and filter it down more. Oh, maybe it is going to make me do a date range. Let's just go to yesterday. I have to go to all time because this is a demo file. And there you go. Now I didn't apply it properly because it's a live demo and now I can't get to the bottom of my screen. Don't you love live demos?
Yeah, this is just, this is how live demos work. It's just rule of thumb that it's not going to work when you need to do it, but that was perfect. So yeah, please, if you don't mind showing us a little bit more, and I'd love to also to pop into copy.
Okay, I couldn't really get to the bottom of it. So there we go. To sale, all I wanted to see was sale. What the heck had happened in the sale vendor account, for example. So that gives you an idea of how you can drill down to not just a transactional level, but also to a vendor or a customer level and see what's going on in there. And so that's essentially how I got to those sales receipts. Was super simple, super quick, pick my date range, put in, because my vendor sales had a name, my sales receipts had a client name in them, customer name, and I could drill down and get those little pesky things out of there in minutes, not a day. Was that a bomber of a demo? Probably.
Not at all. Not at all. Thank you so much for taking the time to show us. That's great. I know a lot of people have Rewind, or some of our current customers have Rewind and just have not had the time to pop in and learn about it a little bit more. So it's nice to see it from your lens. So I'd love to take the last couple of minutes of our time together to answer some of these questions that we have. So a question just came in from Natalie. She said, I'd love to hear whether the panelists price the Rewind subscription as a direct fee or roll it into a package price.
If I pay for the QuickBooks Online subscription as a wholesale feature, I pick up the Rewind subscription as well. If a client is paying for their own QBO subscription, I suggest that they add it to their monthly subscription services. So that's sort of the dividing line that I use.
We do for the clients that have a value pricing, a set price per month. The subscriptions that we handle are included in that price. And for the clients that we offer hourly rate, the subscriptions are billed separately if we pick up the bill.
We generally wrap the fee into our monthly fee, which is set for our clients. And if it's hourly and they're paying for applications, we might bill it to them directly, but we put it in there.
Wholesale or not, I price all subscription fees as separate line items. I know that's not the normal value added thing. I'm fixed fee anyways, but I add, those are separate line items that are not part of their package.
I break mine out also, Kelly. I've gotten burned a couple of times where subscription prices went up and I was reluctant to go to clients to change the monthly rates. So this way, with them being separate line items, it's easier to talk with your client about a vendor that's increased prices. It's not me that's increasing prices. That has helped.
Amazing. So we have another question here that just came in from Herman. He's asked, have you ever done a JSON backup and had to bring it back onto QBO? Rewind mentioned that I would have to find my own developer to convert the JSON file back to QBO. Do Rewind have a dedicated person to do this? So I'll answer from Rewind's perspective. We don't have a dedicated person specifically to convert JSON files, but our support team is certainly here and we work very deeply with our developers. So my recommendation would be to contact support, and if need be, they would go back to our dev team to help with this. And if you wanted to answer.
Yeah, can I fill in on this, because not everybody may not know what that is. So the use of a JSON file, and by the way, my favorite nephew's name is Jason. And so anyways, a JSON file. If you are discontinuing a QBO file entirely, and if you are no longer going to keep Rewind running to host that file, it's gone, you're done. And the only reason you're going to need a QBO file is in the case of an audit. And I've seen this where the auditor wants in on the QBO file. They don't just want the reports and all the stuff that we've written. They want the actual access to the file. And you would need a JSON is the end run. It is the file that is created when you close out QBO and Rewind. And then you store it somewhere in the cloud. And then you need it brought back in. It is not a native QBO file. It does need to be brought back in by a specialist. There's lots of guys who who can restore a JSON file to almost any application though. It's actually a job that some people do, would be the short version of that. So that is the story on a JSON file.
A question just came in regarding wholesale pricing. So this is about to go live with Rewind. In a couple of weeks, we're about to launch wholesale pricing. So my recommendation would be check back on our website in a couple of weeks and you can learn more about the wholesale opportunities with Rewind. And I think that pretty much summed up all of our questions. I'm just going to take one last look. One more question came in from Cindy. Do you always get pricing on apps that are cheaper than what the client can get on their own?
I'll dare answer that. I think that the application makers are smart enough to make partnerships with us accountants. And we accountants are smart enough to make partnerships with the apps that serve us best. And when I make a partnership with an application maker, I oftentimes get offered discounts for my clients. And it's up to us to decide whether we pass on those discounts to our clients or we actually make a little bit of money on those subscriptions.
Can I stand corrected from my buddy Tiffany. So Tiffany Stewart, and she's so smart. She says she is pretty sure that QBO Canada has Canadian soil AWS servers. AWS being the Amazon servers. So I stand corrected on that one. And I want to make sure that everybody knew that I may have boo-booed on that one. And I totally different thing. My nephew Jason literally texted me while I was talking about the JSON file. I wouldn't normally have access to my phone, but I'm hotspotting my my data right now. So yeah, so I apologize if there is Canadian soil AWS servers for our Canadian files. If we have a few minutes at the end, or I'm going to put into the chat right now if everybody wants to look for it. There are videos on the YouTube channel that will address the Rewind copy. I'm just going to put a link to the, and these are actual user videos with best practices and walkthroughs of using, in particular, QBO copy. But can I take a minute to answer Kim's question?
Oh, please, yes.
Yeah, okay, so Kim, when you're talking about the Rewind copy, not all of them can come over. And these are some of the things that are going to be a problem in the QBO copy. And I like to call it the garbage in, garbage out theory. If a file, well, first of all, if you're going to make a QBO copy, treat it exactly the way as when you were converting a desktop file, and that is clean the crap out of it. Make sure that that file is as perfect as you can lay eyes on a file, or all you're doing is moving the crap over. The problem with moving the crap over is that some of it actually won't come over. It will stop the file from coming over. And so I had a file recently, and this was a beautiful, super clean file. And it worked out great. But what I didn't do, and this was my fault, and it was a bit of a duh moment, I didn't go into the new file settings and make it multi-currency and make it the right subscription. I just was like, oh, I'm just going to make a copy and I'm going to throw it in. And that doesn't happen. Go into the file, the destination file, and make sure that the modules match. So you got to have the same modules going on in that file. Then that one went smoothly, and you get a list of the errors. And so I got a list of the errors, and they were small ones, and they were my fault because of some things that I had done transactionally. Then I went to make a copy of another file that I could not, we as a group, I was gifted this beautiful client this year by an accountant who had an absolutely amazingly gorgeous file, but we couldn't get it off of his wholesale. So I was going to make a copy of it, and I couldn't because the QBO file, not the accountant, the QBO file, for whatever reason, was not hanging on to tax codes. So you would code a transaction. This was an older file. You would code a transaction, and then the tax consequence would not hold. And so I saw this because I was clearing out billable items. I'm looking, and all of a sudden it's like, well, how can there be no tax code at all? And as soon as I was done with that, when I go back in, and the tax code again was not there. And so that file couldn't come over because it won't come over without tax code. You have a sales tax module turned on. So some of the time when it's not coming over, it's a problem with that with the originating file, and in that case it was the tax codes. The attachments not to come across, it may have been how they were attached in the first place. So there are API issues with a QBO copy. They are the exact same API issues that there are with QB desktop to QBO copy. So you cannot bring over payroll, and that's because it's a closed API. You can't bring over custom reports because it's a closed API and on those. So if the file has, so those 39 deposits, you'd have to take a look and see what it was about. You could take a look at the first few and you would see what it is that was causing the error with those first few that it did not like, maybe a tax code, whatever the case may be. But that link that I just gave you, that gives a whole lot of step-by-step, they're bite-sized videos on what's not going to come across and what the best practices are for not only QBO copy, but advanced restore, all of that kind of stuff.
And yes, I'll share this link in the follow-up email with a link to the recorded video as well too, so everyone has access to it. And just to quickly answer a couple of these last minute questions, Mario, yes, this is a different program that's going to be launching. So Mario asked, instead of wholesale per se, is there a referral or a commission back on Rewind? This is going to be a certification program that will be launching in the new year. So stay tuned from that. And yes, Kim, I will certainly send you the recorded answer, so you have that in your inbox as well too. So I'd like to just wrap up now. Thank you so much to our featured panelists for participating in this. It was extremely insightful. We will be emailing out a recorded link as well as some resources that were shared in this video. So please stay tuned. That should land in your inbox in the next couple of days. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Nicole.
Kelly.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to race an answer in here before the end. Okay, got it. Okay, bye.
Thanks
Kellie.
again. Bye-bye.
Bye.